Hitting the button. What did we say this was? 173. It is 173.
173.
Here we are. 173.
Bacardi
Snakes and
Cola.
Stogies. That's right. Snakes and Stogies episode 173. Here we are. Live. It's Monday night. It's stupid hot.
Stupid hot.
I have this fan on to help circulate the nice, steamy South Carolina air. Because Mother of God, I'm over it. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
So over it.
I just got done telling Smitty, I'm sitting outside on my patio right now, right? And for those of you who don't know, the majority of the species I keep in my snake room are arid and desert species. So I just checked the Govee, and right now in my desert snake room, it is 80 degrees Fahrenheit and 43% humidity. Okay. Sitting outside in my backyard, it is 86 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity.
Wow. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I'm just going to start
Big
keeping
difference.
chondros.
Keep them outside.
I think even for them, they'd be over it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
But you know what else is hot? BlackBox Cages. BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN at checkout. Save yourself just a smidge of money. Save yourself a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it's something. So you need a rack. You need a cage. BlackBox can accommodate. And you won't be disappointed with any of them. And then when you have said rack and cage, you can hop on over to the reptileperch.com and get you some perches and other perch holders and all the accoutrement you would need from the original 3D printing guy. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Happy to be here.
You're breaking up. Good.
Yeah, you're getting a little laggy, Smitty.
Am I? That's my internet playing games. Marco.
Polo.
Okay, that's not horrible.
No, you're better now.
All right. Yeah. So BlackBox Cages, check it out. Better now. Cool. Fullbeastapparel.com. Check that out. Facebook and Instagram as well. Give it a follow. Use the code THN at checkout as well and get 15% off your order just for THN listeners and people that are watching and checking out the show on a regular basis, or if you just happen to catch this one. I noticed early on we had some people in the chat that were mentioning this is their first time catching the live, so welcome.
Nice.
Thank you all.
Of course.
Puget Sound Pythons. Shout out to them as well. Jeff and Kendra in the Pacific Northwest. Give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Puget Sound Pythons. And then go check out what they've got for sale on Morph Market right now. And then go buy something from them because they're awesome people.
Awesome people. And 10 days, Smitty. 10 days and we get to see the West Coasters in the flesh.
I know, dude. I can't freaking wait, man.
It's going to be awesome.
Can't
It's
wait.
gonna be
Daytona.
huge. Yeah, Daytona. It's our annual pilgrimage.
I haven't been to that show, I think, in probably 15 years or so.
Right.
Matter of fact, I think the last time I went down there is when
I can't tell if I'm still lagging or not.
You definitely are, brother. You may have to jump out and reset. We'll give him a minute, Dave.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on my end. It seems pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, you're crystal clear, but he's a little digital. But yeah, so 15 years, man, that's wild.
If not more. Yeah, it's when the show used to be in Orlando. That was the last time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Over 15 years. Yeah, man. And actually, that was I'm pretty sure my first one was the last one in Orlando, I think, if memory serves me right.
Is that right?
Yeah. But man, it's a hell of a ride, man. Tons of animals, tons of great people, good times, laughs, the camaraderie. I mean, we always joke and say like, yeah, the animals are awesome, but it's about hanging out with chosen family, seeing people you get to see once a year, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yep. I'd like to make it down there again at some point.
Yeah, and most people that are not from the Southeast, you know, they make a week of it. They fly in
Right.
on a Wednesday, they stay for 4 or 5 days, get a little bit of Florida in the beginning, get a little bit of Florida at the end, Daytona in the middle.
Yep.
The show, I mean Daytona, and National Reptile Breeders Expo, excuse me. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. Actually, this year, they're for the first time, like officially. I know they did something similar in the past, but they're allowing normal people, normal shoppers, to purchase $100 ticket and get in early on Friday, which is vendor setup day.
Wow.
Which I imagine, having worked similar shows and venues, not at Daytona with this particular scenario, but it's very stressful for the vendors because not only are they setting up, but they're also selling, they're wheeling and dealing, and they got to watch all their stuff. There's way more security is needed in terms of people, being a little chaotic.
Yeah.
But it also lets you get some really cool deals if you're a shopper. So
Yeah. Get you first in line.
yeah, for
Good
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy how with those big shows, or I mean, any real reptile show, it's amazing how much wheeling and dealing and horse trading happens between the vendors even before the show even starts, which I
No
always
doubt.
love.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll never forget. There was, I think it was 2015 or 2016. There was this guy who had, I think it was horn frogs, like Suriname horn frogs and Pac-Mans, and he had done captive bred everything like in Florida. And I guess the word got out that he was going to be at the show, and he sold out his entire table before the show even opened.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
And he had a little sign saying, "My apologies, but like we ran out."
Snooze, you lose.
Snooze, you lose, right? So the early bird gets the Pac-Man frog, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I get it. It kind of sucks though for everybody else that goes to the show on Saturday and Sunday. It's like you really, you got to get there early if you want to get the good stuff.
Well, I feel like it depends on what you want too, because there's so much stuff there, whether it be decor or supplies or just husbandry equipment or caging or incubators, you name it, they got it. And some of my best stuff that I've ever got was on a Sunday afternoon, thinking to myself, oh man, I missed all the cool animals. I missed all the cool deals, whatever. And sometimes you just get lucky, or maybe you see something you didn't realize you needed,
Yep.
Well, let's do this. Smitty is obviously still fixing his internet scenarios. So we're joined tonight by our very special guest, Mr. David Brahms of the Reptile Perch. Is it now?
It is. Yep.
All right. The Reptile Perch. So Dave used to have Specialty Enclosure Designs, which I thought was a fantastic name. And I guess we can get into why you kind of rebranded a little bit. But I got my first PVC perches ever from Dave, and I still use them and have them, and with multiple different species from which I originally slated them to be used for. So you want to give us a little rundown of you and how you got into all that jazz?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. I started this, I think it was back in 2016 timeframe. My son and I were interested in the 3D printing stuff, and we decided to go ahead and take the plunge and buy a printer. And it wasn't long after that we, I quickly realized that, hey, I could probably use this for some of my other hobbies too. And it became incredibly useful to make stuff on the fly when you can't buy certain things readily, online or from anybody. So it was a very rapid transition from, hey, we're just going to tinker, to making some stuff for myself, to maybe some other people would want this stuff too. And, just started offering it to the community, and it quickly grew from there. And it's been going strong ever since.
It's awesome.
Started out with 3D printing, ended up with a whole bunch of printers to meet the demand, and 3D printing is a fantastic technology, but it's not the greatest when it comes to mass manufacturing and being able to scale up.
Yeah.
And just plugging along with what I had over the years. And then this past year, we made a transition from Specialty Enclosure Designs to the Reptile Perch. And the reason why I did that was I heard from multiple people that they could never remember the name. And whenever I would hear people talk about it on podcasts and things like that, they never get it right. and and it's just one of those things where it was already an established name, and it was working, but it was clumsy. And I was actually switching up how I was going to be doing a lot of my manufacturing from 3D printing to now CNC. And I figured it might be a good time to do a little name switch to something that is more representative about what I am actually, producing. And it's also easier to say and remember. And that was really the nexus behind it.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. And
there
was no hiccup or anything. It just, made the switch and things didn't change at all.
That's great.
In fact, it's still growing. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I saw those. I guess I don't know how new they are, but you have those like twisted branches that look more realistic. Like those are awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, that's that. I take regular PVC pipe and I do a staining process that it's a permanent stain. It bonds with the PVC, and it makes them look more natural. Makes them look pretty interesting, and I can do it in a couple different colors, and that's like one of the biggest items that I've been selling. People really love them.
That's awesome. And then now, are you like heating up the PVC and twisting it to get that texture?
Yeah, I have a process. I'm not using any flames at all, but I'm heating the PVC up till it reaches that glass transition temperature, so it becomes malleable. And I'll quickly manipulate it and twist it and do that kind of stuff, and then set it by chilling it off really quickly.
That's awesome.
Just giving it some more texture and making it look more real.
Yeah, man, they look fantastic. They do.
Thanks.
So, Smitty, you're crystal clear, man. What goes on?
I had switched my damn phone.
Well, you look crystal clear and you sound good, so we're in business.
Thoroughly irritated with my internet. First world problems, okay?
Right.
The nerve.
What are you smoking tonight? Now that we gave Dave a good intro.
The Wise Man.
Oh, what is that?
Foundation. This is a Lancero.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
let's see the band.
I don't know that I can necessarily say it's a Lancero because it's kind of thicker than a Lancero, but I don't think you can really.
Oh, that's cool. It's got like an Orthodox priest on it or something.
Yeah, it's there's like this. I think it's Nicaraguan folklore, sort of around the Wise Man. I can't even pronounce like the Spanish version of what it is. It's like El Huehuenís. I don't know. G-U, the U's have umlauts, so G-U-E-G-U-E-N-S-E.
Yeah, I'm not going to try.
And I've heard him pronounce it before, but I can't remember. But it's the Wise Man is what it is. But it's a pretty good. So there's a Maduro version, and then there's this. I believe this is a Corojo, if I'm not mistaken. But I hadn't had one in a while. Saw it at the shop and said, let's do that. I've been trying to smoke different stuff Monday nights.
Hell yeah.
So what about you?
I'm really left field tonight. I am not a Davidoff guy at all, but I had a friend from work give me a limited edition Silver Band 2022. So I'm going to give it a whirl. And it wasn't a good start. I used the V cutter and it immediately pulled a chunk out of the rim.
Nice.
So I was like, that's not a good start, Davidoff, but we're going to fire it up and see how it goes. So
do you guys have one that's like an absolute all-time favorite, or are you just generalist?
Oh yeah,
depends on how you feel.
I mean, I smoke a little bit of everything. Like I'm pretty equal opportunity. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have a handful that are like my go-tos, and I know Phil's the same way.
Most definitely.
Apparently, he's got a lighter that's struggling.
Where would you say the best come from? Because I don't smoke, obviously, but
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
Yeah, Nicaragua since the 90s has like really become sort of the place that a lot of the best stuff is coming from now. It's primarily the Dominican and Nicaragua that are the two main countries that are really doing a lot with cigars, and then Honduras is now starting to really take off as far as production and stuff coming out of there.
Interesting. So is the whole Cuban thing, is that just because you couldn't get them and people coveted them?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
I'm of that opinion. Like Cubans are definitely good. When they're good, they're really good, and then when they're bad, they're
Really
an absolute
bad.
nightmare because they're rolled really tight. You can't get a draw out of them. Flavor wise, though, they are different. They are fantastic. I also tell people all the time, like, unless you smoke a lot, like you smoke a lot of cigars, you're into it, you're probably not going to notice a major difference. Like, you're really not going to pick up. Like, I can pick up a Cuban right now, and I can tell you if it's real or not just from the flavor because I've smoked a lot. So
yeah.
Most people that are casual smokers and maybe have like one or two a year, if you give them one, they're not gonna know.
They won't know
that it's Cuban, but they are very flavor wise. They're very good, and I mean they are very different. I have friends that go on cruises and stuff to the Bahamas all the time, and they bring back a couple cigars, and they're like, "Oh, these are Cubans," and it's like within like the first couple puffs, it's like this ain't it,
nope.
man.
Yeah.
This is, you got taken, man, because you paid $27 for a floor scrap Dominican. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and see, like I'm spoiled because I'm in South Florida and everything is Cuban down here. And I have lots of friends and coworkers and acquaintances that go there frequently and they'll constantly bring back stuff. And you'll see that like the person that went on the cruise to the Bahamas, they went on a cruise to Nassau for 4 days and they're like, "Oh, I got you Cubans." And it's like, "No, you didn't." And then my buddy's like, "Oh, no, I just flew back from Havana. Like, here you go." And it's like 3 or 4 of them, and you could just look at them and just tell the difference.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their tobacco is very good. It's not the end all be all. It is a lot of the whole just not like the mysticism of not being able to get them, the hype there. But Nicaragua is putting out plenty of fantastic cigars that I think compete, if not beat, a lot of Cuban stuff. So.
I would agree. I also think that now that certain parts of Cuba and certain communities in Cuba have more westernized, modern 21st century stuff like Wi-Fi, they're smuggling in a lot of good Nicaraguan seed and just adding a little bit. I've even heard of guys like smuggling in boats of soil just so they can like refresh nitrates and that kind of thing.
No kidding.
So, yeah. I mean, and who the hell really knows, but
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And it's definitely like what Smitty said of 50-50 whether or not it's worth smoking or not.
Yeah, I've had people give me some and like the draw was so tight you couldn't even get anything out of it, and I just after 10 minutes of trying to smoke the damn thing just give up and be like, this isn't. But then you get one from the same box that is an absolute dream, burns perfect, no issues, and they are very much, they stand up to the hype when they're like that. But
yeah,
but they're not all like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Tobacco is very good. Unfortunately, their rolling abilities are not the best.
Yeah.
Do people make their own? I mean, can you get like
sure.
Do people ever try like getting tobacco leaves and rolling their own cigars and that kind of stuff? Or
you can if you're talking like small scale. That's tough because most people won't sell you tobacco leaves in like smaller quantities. Like they put so much work into growing those things, and then the fermentation process and everything that someone just wants to buy a couple pounds. They're gonna be like, nah, like But it is an art form. I mean, rolling cigars, like people think that it's just bundling some leaves together and rolling it up. Like the people that do it, man, if you're like a top tier roller in any of these countries, like
it's a skill. Yeah.
You're making money. Like you're getting paid about as much as a doctor and a lawyer does. Cause like each factory has certain tiers of rollers, and they'll have some, 6-year-old lady that's been working there for 40 years and she's the top roller and she's it. Like, she's all their like super high premium, like expensive stuff. Typically they just have the higher end rollers do all that. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. There's a couple places by me down in Dade County where you can buy raw tobacco leaves because there is so much older culture, like baby boomer era culture of, their great grandfather was a roller, their grandfather was a roller. Now they work for a bank, so that they may still have the skill. They may do it on the weekends. And like, there's actually a lot of like, I don't want to say small business, but for lack of a better word, small business people where it's like a husband and wife team. And like the wife books them to do like weddings and bar mitzvahs on like the weekends. But the guy's normally just like an accountant,
Which that is a very in-demand thing, because I used to have people call the shop all the time asking if we did like rolling and stuff. And frankly, I mean, like fresh rolled cigars, I've had some and I thought they just weren't like the point of cigars is that they kind of age and they
That makes sense.
they're not like you don't eat a banana while it's still green. It's kind of a similar thing. It's like you can, it's just not as good. So people always want like fresh rolled, and I'm like, roll it and give it a month, and then 2 months.
I was just about to say is I can't tell you how many weddings I've been to where after the wedding they're like, oh Phil, we have all these extra cigars. Do you want these? Because we know you smoke cigars. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take them, and then I'll put them in a separate humidor for like 6 months, a year, and then they taste great. Oh, no, not saying they weren't good to begin with, but they're just that much
get better.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's a lot. It's a lot like wine. There's a ton of parallels to cigars and wine. It's very similar industries.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Davidoff's holding up nicely, man. I don't know if it's because it's that silver anniversary or if it's just I haven't had one in a long time, but it's holding up well.
Yeah, I think this is definitely I think this is a Corojo because it's definitely got some kick to it.
It looks like it looks Corojo-ish.
It looks very Corojo-ish. Yeah. So. But I was just texting David yesterday, the day before, like after years of my little pen hook, the one that I originally, like the green one that David very first sent me when I first hatched out green trees, that has been like, and it's one of few things where I get it and I don't think I'm going to use it that much, but I find myself using it almost daily.
That's silly.
It fell off the table the other day after years of like being put in disinfectants and other things, and the head broke. And I was like, oh man, okay, I'll just have to get some more. But then, like, now that I don't have it, I'm having to corral these tiny little worms of corn snakes with my giant fingers, and it's like, I told David, I was like, dude, I'm lost without these things now. Like, you don't realize how much you use stuff until you don't have it around anymore.
Oh, and for sure.
Yeah, it's true.
That little hook, man, was
surprisingly useful.
I love the hell out of those things.
I use them for everything but a hook.
Really?
Yeah. Like, chondros, sometimes when you're trying to get the babies to eat, I have some that they'll grab it and wrap it, but then they won't do anything with it. They'll literally hold on to it for hours and hours, and to the point where they squish it to nothing. It's the most bizarre thing. But getting them to actually let go of it is nearly impossible. And so what I'll end up doing is I'll take that little hook and I'll just start poking them with it and get them all pissed off to the point where they need to change position, and then finally they'll dump the mouse. But
it's fantastic for those just little wiggly damn rat snakes and stuff fresh out of the egg, like for moving them around before they kind of decide to start spazzing and taking off and falling off the table and going onto the floor, and which they do a lot, especially there's one of these clutches of corns in particular, man, like they're little firecrackers. Every single one of them is just ready to go.
Yep.
And that little hook just, it was great with chondros when I had them, babies and stuff. It's been great with baby rat snakes. I think even with some of like the smaller, but like the yearling to 2-year-old animals, I have a couple like sun-kissed corns that are just nut jobs when it comes to food. And so it's nice to deflect them with that while I'm trying to change waters. And it's super useful. And I got to get a handful of them and just,
I'll send you some. I'll send you some.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I have a blue one, and David was kind enough to give it to me in my last order I did with him. And I, at the time, Henry and I got in some venomous stuff. And again, I can tell the story now because it's in context and like, no one's going to like misconstrue this, but the Reptile Perch's neonate little pin hook is not slated for venomous. No one should be using it for venomous ever. It is not appropriate. It is too small. It is too dangerous. It is too frail and dainty. Do not use it for venomous. Having said that, I may have used it to move Calliophis intestinalis, the Malayan coral snakes, and it worked like a son of a gun. And I want you to make me one that's like, can you make
Longer.
one that's like 15 or 20 inches?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's no problem.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. So then, yeah, that's what we're going to go with. But I have pictures that I took. And I remember I text Dave and I was like, hey, man, I know this isn't intended use, but look at your hook in use with this extremely lethal coral snake.
I remember that, Phil. I gotta tell you, at the time I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
And when you sent me that, and I'm like,
oh God,
holy shit! I do not condone this whatsoever for
lawsuit incoming.
Venomous. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then quickly, Smitty's like, oh no, he's experienced. And then I realized, who you were. I had no idea, no context whatsoever at the time.
That's cool, man. That's cool. What's funny is I had we also at the time we had gotten a litter of Trimersus and Solaris, the blue tree vipers, and those babies are so tiny. And I had pictures of like me using the blue hook with a little blue snake on the end.
Oh, cool.
And it was so freaking cute, but they all came out blurry. And I was like, look, first of all, I'm not posting a blurry picture. And second of all, David's going to kill me. I can't do that.
We don't want you losing any fingers.
Yeah, exactly. So. Or letting other people lose fingers because of my stupidity.
Yeah. I just remember dealing with baby chondros, and I just remember thinking, man, if only I had a pen the size of a hook, or a hook the size of a pen.
Hook the size of a pen. That's it, man.
I just need something small that I can use to move them around if I need to, because of how delicate they are. And then I was like, wait a second. It's like, this is something I bet you David can do.
Yeah, it was a great idea.
And then, man, like I said, I'd send him a picture of something the size of a Sharpie. I sent him a picture. I was like, something this long with just a hook on the end of it, and that's all I need. And Lance said Petco sells the little hooks, but those are the collapsible ones and stuff. Like this is
I hate those.
A static little hook. I've got some of the Venom Life like Viper hooks, the little small ones, and I use those. I use those for some of the 6-foot Jansenii sometimes. And so for like bigger stuff, I have those, and I don't have like a full size hook in my room because I also don't really have any need for one. That Viper hook usually does what I needed to do with pretty much everything in there. So having that like tiny option just there, it's in the cup with the pens and stuff. It's awesome.
Nothing like having the tools.
Yeah, man. Right. For sure. Yeah, I gotta get you to make me one that's like 15 inches long. We'll make it neon orange just so it can be the baby venomous model.
I'll make you some this week, Phil.
That's problem. Awesome. Yeah, well, I the whole reason why I was even going to talk to you this afternoon is because I need to put an order in, so we'll have to do that off air.
yeah, no problem.
But yeah, man, I still have the I guess it's your first series of Cambro, I guess perches, for lack of a better synonym, and the ones you screw together. And dude, I have used them right side up, upside down. I've laid them as like a ramp in enclosures, and I don't have a single one in a Cambro right now.
Yeah,
but dude, they're just so versatile. And then the way that you can slide the middles to make the different, like, dude, it's awesome, man. I can't speak highly enough about it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I still have all my Python portal setups, much to Katie's dismay. I've got like 5 of those things. 4 of them are up in the attic. One of them I'm staring at right now.
Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to get rid of them. I'm like, I put so much work and stuff into those. I don't know if I'll ever use them again just because of my setup right now. I don't have room for them, but I was like, she's like, are you going to get rid of these? I was like, hell no.
No.
Why would I get rid of these things? Like, they got heat panels in them and everything and lights, and those things were great. And we did a video on the build and stuff, and I had even still, it gets a ton of comments, and I get messages about them still, the Python portals and stuff, because it's such a great idea and option. I was keeping my Boiga in them for a while without any issues. I think I had some of the Jansenii, one of the Jansenii or 2 of the Jansenii in them for a while, and they did great in that. Had the Ackies in them at one point with that crazy hot Pro Soul light. Did great. Like, I've put those things through the ringer, man, and they've held up great. I kept Conjures in them too at one point, and they've just been fantastic. It's a great.
Nice. I remember that first video that you and Jake did, and like
Oh God.
You yelling at him. It's like, it's upside down. It's not upside down. Yes, it is. Okay, it is upside down.
The drunk leading the blind, man.
Yeah. It's you guys like in a backyard. It's just like
That my parents yeah.
barefoot cutting plastic. I love it. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not super what's the word? Well versed in
Handy.
Yeah, in the whole measure twice, cut once thing. It's usually measure once and cut like 3 times, and then find some way to sort of hobble it together. As a result, Jake was there saying, "No, man, that's not the right measurement on that tape. You got to, it's an 1/8 instead of a 16th." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And then, of course, it was. So
fractions.
yeah, it's like, crazy.
Oh, that's good shit, man. That's good shit. So, Dave, man, what do you got cooking in the incubator?
Incubator's empty. It ran overtime this past season, but
okay.
It's empty now. Yeah,
nice.
I've had my hands full all spring with a crap ton of baby chondros. It's the first time I've had this many ever to deal with at once, and
it's a good problem to have.
Challenging to say the least. Yep.
So how many times has your family walked into the room and the lights were off and they flip the lights on and you go, turn the light off?
Punched over in the corner like Gollum.
Exactly. I hiss at them.
Yeah. Tweezers in hand, just twitching. That's awesome, man. I love it. So
how's that been getting everything going compared
surprisingly
to
good? Yeah. It as you know, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And now, I remember you and I, we both had our first clutches the same year, and the stress of the anticipation of that clutch hatching and then getting them going and all that. You want them all to survive. And now, I think I hatched 46 chondros this season.
Wow.
From four clutches. And you can't stress. You just have to
you're along for the ride.
And yep. And but after you've done it a few times, you start picking up on the signals and you realize stuff that you should be stressing about and stuff that you shouldn't. And I've changed how I do things. When I first started, people really stress out about the babies not eating, and some people will just beat the hell out of them with a pinky head or whatever to try and get them to get aggressive so they'll finally start biting it. And I did that for a while, and I finally just got to the point where I was like, this doesn't seem right to me. It's not the right way to do it. You're like really stressing them out. And then the food that they are getting, if they do eat it, is really not much. So I just got to the point where I'm like, if they're runners or if they're shy and they're not grabbing the food, I don't bother with that anymore. I go strictly to the mouse legs, and I just stick it in their mouth and I put them back in the tub, and they'll crawl around with it sticking out of their mouth for a minute or two, and then they eat it. And
that's what I did with the tails, man.
Yep. And I do it. I try to do it twice a week. Worst case scenario, it's once a week, and I just keep doing it. And what I have found out was that you just keep doing that. They don't lose weight. They'll actually grow. They'll shed. And then before you know it, you'll open the tub one day, and instead of being something that's shy and wants to run away, they're like very alert and acting like they want to eat. And they usually do. Yeah. And it's a time game, and it's almost like you're programming them too by getting that mouse in them over time. They just eventually, I think, turn on and realize that I don't know if it's like a developmental thing that some of them, they just need longer time after they get out of the egg to reach that point where they want to be an aggressive eater. But every single one of them that I do this with now, it's just, you do that until they turn on, and 9 out of 10 of them will. And it's become a lot less stressful worrying about if you're going to be able to get a baby chondro to eat or not. To me, it's not even a question now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like the reason I started doing the tails, because Cody Bartolini brought up a good point. He's like, is it more stressful to sit there and beat him with a pinky for 20 minutes, or is it more stressful to grab him and put a tail in him in 30 seconds and put him back?
Yep. Yeah. It's way easier.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you're like, you can do it and still be delicate. And that's one of the reasons that hook was so handy with those two, was getting them off the perch gently, being able to manipulate them and get them where I need them to. And I mean, I did that, and you have one of those babies. I have one of those babies still. Luke has one or two of them, I think. And then like everyone else that I know that has a baby, like there's no issues with any of those animals that are still around. You know, there's no kinks or anything like that. Like if you're gentle about it, they're, you know, obviously you're not going to grab them and start pulling on them and stuff on a perch and jacking them up like a slinky, but it really wasn't that bad, you know.
I think it's important to make the distinction so people understand that we're not force feeding them. You know, there's a huge difference between force feeding and assist feeding. And, you know, you're literally either taking a piece of a mouse tail, or I like to use the hind legs now of a mouse. And you just put it in their mouth, and chondros are really bad at spitting food out once you get it in there. And some of them will struggle for a minute or so trying to spit it out, and they can't. And then they're like, well, if it won't go that way, it'll go the other way. And then they just swallow it. And some of them now, I can even do it without taking them off the perch. I can just, you know, during the middle of the day when they're resting, I can reach in and quickly grab their head, put the mouse leg in there before they even know what's happening. And then I'm done, you know. And I can do, I think I had 12 babies that did not want to eat right away on their own. So I had to do that with them. And, you know, I could bust through all 12 of them in less than a half hour.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
To get them all set. So, yeah.
It made me real well prepared for those cyanea that, you know, wouldn't take off either. It got me very well trained on getting.
You had to do it with them too?
Things. On a few of them, yeah. And it was one of those things where, you know, you'd do it and then you'd offer them a pinky a couple days later, and if they didn't take it, then you just repeat until they take off. Same with the green trees, pretty much is what I did. You know, tail them and then offer, and then if they refuse, tail them again and offer. And then eventually it was one of those things where, like, yeah, they just started taking, and then I could just drop feed them and not have to even worry about it anymore. It's just a matter of getting them there.
Did you have any luck with like slow approach on a brained frozen thawed pinky?
No, that stuff doesn't work. Yeah, it's just they're so like genetically programmed to eat something very specific that you know, the only thing that does get some of them to turn on right away is the chick down. And, you know, but everything else, if you've got one that is like very shy, like they're not aggressive at all, they're a pain in the butt to get eating because they're not striking. And then you got the other ones that the second you touch them, they fling themselves off the perch and they're racing away as far, you know, as quickly as they can. And it's not like when you open it up and you've got one that is acting like it's interested in food, and then you're presenting them with something that they just don't like. It's just, they want nothing to do with food whatsoever at that point. And it really doesn't matter what you're presenting to them. They're just not going to go for it. And it's almost like, it really is to me, it seems like they're preemies, you know, like they need extra time to cognitively, you know, develop or whatever. Because it's literally like you're flipping a switch. They go from being like that to like, oh my God, you're like an alert chondro who is like twitching its tail and acting like it's ready to strike at something and eat.
Yeah, doing chondro things.
Yep.
That's great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that chick down, man, that was like, that switch flipped. I had some that weren't eaters, like couldn't get them to take it all, but as soon as I put that chick down on there, they instantly knew what to do. It was strange, and it's so bizarre too, because it's like at that size, even into their older years, like they're not eating a lot of birds, so you wouldn't think that would trigger that.
You know what I think it is? You know what they say, you know, anybody that eats any kind of reptile meat, what do they usually say it tastes like? Chicken. And that's why I wonder if they're eating baby skinks, you know, that it just has a similar scent, you know, because they're all kind of closely related to each other in a weird way, you know.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I'm planning to pair green trees at the end of the year for the first time since like 2019.
Yay.
And the Starscream, I believe, is going to be. I'm fairly confident she'll be ready to go.
Oh, it's a female, right? Yeah, I was thinking it
Yeah.
was a male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have those, and then I have another pair that I got from Luke's first clutch. And I've put the male in with her periodically. She's kind of gone through a little growth spurt recently. And he was interested, and he tried. Man, he was giving it his all, and she just wasn't having it. So
Not ready. Yeah.
I'm gonna try them later this year too. The timing was right. It was wrong. It was, I think, like maybe February or March that I was trying to get them to go, just to see if it would happen. It might have even been early spring. It's like, just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And I'm itching to get little yellow and red heads popping out of eggs again.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yep.
It is. It's challenging, and that's kind of the fun part. I talk about that all the time. Like, it's nice to have the corns and bairds that are going to eat right off the bat without much work, but then also have the stuff that's going to be a little more time attentive and things like that.
It's nice to have the balance.
It is.
Yeah.
For sanity purposes, I think you have to have it. Because I couldn't, like, Alterna. I talk about Alterna babies all the time, and it's like, I have zero plans to breed Alterna ever again. Like, will I keep them again? Maybe. We'll see. Definitely not going to breed them. Like, those made chondros look like a freaking cakewalk.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous.
Yep. That I often think about when you were showing how you finally were able to get some native lizard from where they're from to scent the pinkies with, and how they went from just being complete a-holes when it comes to feeding to wow, look at that thing's on the hunt. It's like it knows what it wants. It's pretty incredible.
It was just like the chick down with the chondros. Like, as soon as you put that Scaloporus scent on there,
even more dramatic.
Again, it was like, oh, food, and it was
like I know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I don't lose power. It's storming pretty gnarly outside right now.
Nice. I saw that flicker. Was that lightning?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can hear it.
It's coming down.
Yeah.
Wicked. Now it's your turn to have storm show.
Yeah. I'm tired.
Phil, what do you do with your venomous stuff when you got to get babies to eat? Do you assist feed, or what do you do?
So yes and no. So it depends on the species. I've had a lot of good luck with arboreal babies because of learning from chondro dudes, right? And like one of my good friends, Chris, who I work with now, he's a out of the limelight keeper, you know what I mean? And he's got a handful of Greg Maxwell stuff. And over the years, he's taught me like lights off, tweezers, slow and steady, slight tail movements, and like all that translates to arboreal pit vipers. And I've been really lucky in terms of having veterans show me tips and tricks. But then you also come to something like baby death adders, which are they're worse than Alterna, right?
Yeah.
And I know Scott's in the chat right now, and he's gonna be like, "You Americans have no idea what you're talking about." Blah blah blah. Well, for me, it was difficult, and you've got lots of different techniques in terms of like trying to tube them, trying to pin them, which is extremely dangerous because they're so tiny. Right. It's like trying to pin a cocktail straw and not get bit. And then using pinky parts, pinky legs, pinky heads, the like brain stem of a pinky head, and just kind of like, I don't want to be graphic, but like smushing a little bit of that out, you know what I mean? Just to kind of entice with scent and stuff like that, using chick down, using lizard shed skin.
Yeah.
And what's actually worked for me with some of the like pit vipers to assist feed is using one of those painting sponges on a stick. And basically, you're not pinning the animal behind the head because they're just going to resist. They're going to thrash and be like, oh my God, something's grabbed my head. But like putting it in the middle of their body, just so they sit still, and then coming in with the tweezers and the pinky part or whatever, that's actually helped a lot to kind of do like what you said with the chondros, where once they bite it, there's a high probability they're just going to keep it and then eat it.
Yeah.
But with a lot of pit vipers, they also throw it across the room. So it just depends. I'm also a big proponent on feeding neonate venomous live because they want the movement, they want the warm body of it. So a lot of like baby bittis, so like puff adders, gaboons, rhinos, literally just throwing in, because they're all individually contained, throwing in like a live fuzzy. Dude,
Yep.
everything loves a live fuzzy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If providing they're big enough to eat it. So I've gotten really lucky in that regard. I haven't bred venomous in a really long time, and the only neonate I've really had to get going was a baby Atheros colorecus, which the first time I ever fed it was live on Instagram, and it took in like 20 seconds, and I was like, this is a fucking anomaly. Like this is this is not this is not the norm, right? But yeah, just tweezering and being very gentle, very relaxed. You know, I always say it's a ballet, it's a waltz, it's not breakdancing. So
yeah. It's interesting how every species has their prey item that they're like really tuned into. I years ago I had baby eyelash vipers, the baby golden eyelash vipers.
Yeah.
And I had one of them that was not a good feeder at all. And at that stage they were getting pinky heads only.
Yeah.
And just could not get this thing to want to eat, and eventually started getting to the point where it didn't want to strike and do any of that. And I was living down south at the time, and I figured, well, there's anoles running around all over the place. I'll see if I can grab one and use it for scenting and see if that will get it to turn. And it just so happens that I had this little cage with the anole in it that I set right next to the tub that the baby eyelash viper was in.
Smart.
That little sucker saw that anole, and I have never seen an animal like come awake and key in on the movement that little lizard was making. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh my God, it's like, there's the food that I want it now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just, it'd be cool if somebody could figure out how to breed, small skinks or, something like that on a commercial scale.
Yeah.
And see if, it works better for little chondros, things like that.
I forgot I sent you those ground skinks a couple years ago.
Yep.
Got eaten alive by mosquitoes trying to just catch a couple of cincella out of some leaf litter at my grandparents' house. Because I was like, he's like, you got any like small skinks in here? I was like, sure do. Caught him, I think two ground skinks just to try them, and I don't even think they worked. But
they didn't like them.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, these are the perfect size. Like these are like they're ideal. Like adults are tiny.
They didn't smell right, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I don't think I've ever actually fed a gecko tail to anything, like straight up fed a tail to it. But I've kept them in the freezer, just the tail.
Yeah.
And you take a little shot glass of microwaved hot water, right? And you dip the frozen tail tip in it just to get the tip thawed, right? And I almost use it like a paintbrush, and I will just dab that tail tip, the warm tail tip, on the snout of a frozen thawed pinky.
Yeah.
And whammo. But like
that's enough.
And like maybe it's because I smoke, maybe it's because I drink a lot of caffeine. I don't know, but like I'll shake my hand. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like I'll make my hand look like kind of like I got Parkinson's with the tweezers, and it just vibrates that pinky just enough to get the movement, and they'll key in on that, and then they'll smell that tail tip on that pinky face, and whammo.
Yep.
So
that's what makes the hobby fun. I love that stuff.
Well, when it works,
finally figure that out. When you get something that works.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes your day.
I've been struggling with stiletto snakes for over a year now, and it's been painful trying to figure out what smells like what they want. And now I'm gotten to the point where I think they've eaten enough scented pinkies that they're just doing it. I've only seen them eat 3 times in front of me, but I'll come back a day later, the pinky will still be alive in there. I'll come back another day later and it's gone. So it's just, I think it's a matter of getting them to know, okay, I can eat this,
Yep.
I'm telling you, I'm still really curious if you took some like used mouse shavings or something and sort of did like a pseudo.
I tried it.
Did you?
Dude, I took a paper towel. I took a toilet paper roll, right? And I buried it in the dirt. Okay. I packed the bottom with mouse shavings from the pet shop because I don't keep rodents, right? And then I stuffed 4 pinkies down in there alive. And then 2 days later, the pinkies were still there. The pinkies were still alive. So I fed them off to other stuff, But I tried to make a little nest of mouse shavings in like a little flat deli lid and put some pinkies in there, because Nathaniel had said, oh, give them multiple pinkies to simulate a nest. They'll go in, they'll murder like the whole family and then eat at least 2 or 3 of them. And none of that ever happened. So
interesting. So baby stilettos, they're eating baby rodents
no
in
one
the wild?
no one really knows. There is no one has, let me rephrase that.
He got one of the few species that no one knows anything about the natural history.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to get into it, is that there's so many different species in the genera, and there's no natural history. And what natural history they do have is from civilian bites, farm workers and people in their homes and stuff in West Africa, and then wet specimens in museums. And like cutting open stomach content, and like it's a
big mystery.
It's a wide assortment, and like, there are certain species, like some of the desert species, that are honestly only eating small lizards, right? But like the fossorial stuff, the forest, the tropical, the grassland and steppeland species, there's rodents, there's insects, there's earthworms and small lizards, other snakes. Like there's everything in there. Yeah. So it's super difficult. So I mean, I've tried tuna scent, I've tried lizard scent, I've tried lizard skins, I've tried gecko tail, like I said, dipped in, the paintbrush technique. Yeah. I've tried pinky brains, I've tried adult mouse like part smeared onto a pinky. I got 2 of them to eat cooked snails from the Chinese food market, but then they never ate it ever again. Wild, right? I've rolled pinky in the can of snails from Zoo Med. Yeah, I've rolled pinkies in that. I tried flash boiling, where you heat the water up and throw the frozen pinky in it, and just boom, it just instantly works. And dude,
they eat earthworms or anything like that.
I tried night crawlers.
Did you?
I tried the red worms for bait. How about this? You ready? This is my piece.
Scorpions?
I did not try scorpions, but my piece de resistance was going to the wholesaler for a Ghana shipment, which is where my animals are majority from. And I bought, I hand selected juvenile blue-tailed skinks alive. Mm-hmm. I want to bring all the skinks back to the shop. Yeah. Because after a week, I have like a skinny, emaciated skink, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad. You didn't get eaten.
They're not touching it. Yeah.
They don't care. So
little shits.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, man. But I've got 4 now, and they're all doing. Let me knock on some wood. They're all doing well. They're all eating. They're all pooping, shedding. I'll tell you what, dude. I went on the ones that I have. They went over 6 months with no food.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and it makes me think that it might be temperature related. It might be seasonal. They may be just gorging themselves in summer and then just chilling out for the winter. I have no idea. Yeah. So I'm documenting everything. I'm taking pictures. Dude, I have so many pictures of fucking dirt on my phone. It's hilarious.
He's probably got more information just with this group that he's been dealing with than pretty much most people ever have documented.
Yeah.
With the group, because it's a species that
you're going to be the expert.
No one has really any desire to do anything with, and then pretty much him and Nathaniel that are really keeping any of them in any serious numbers that we're aware of. And you know, I think Nathaniel's got the species that's like the least problematic to.
No, I have the same ones.
Do you?
Yeah, I have the same species as him. So the difference between Nathaniel and I is, so Nathaniel's got like 28 or 29 of them. He's got a huge group, and he has to have all the same species for pharmaceuticals, right? Because they want it to be exactly the same species, exactly the same locality. That way the venom is exactly the same. And unfortunately, he has to keep them in a sterile environment because the way that they milk them, because it doesn't bite the vessel like a traditional venomous snake would, they're stabbing it
out the side of the mouth.
Right. The face has to stay clean because if there's dirt or substrate or soil on the face, it can cross-contaminate bacteria or whatever into the retaining vessel. So he literally keeps them on a newspaper with a hide box and a water bowl, and he actually tube feeds them the same liquid diet that they give coral snakes.
Yep. Okay.
So I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to get hands-on. I don't want to have to shove a tube down their throat like I'm not a laboratory. I want them to be comfortable and happy and live the best life they can under my care. Right. But no one knows how to do that. So I'm trying, but they've probably been going. Yeah, they've been hands down the hardest thing I've ever had to get feeding, which is why I'm probably going to look for Alterna in Daytona.
Yeah.
Because he's got the hat and he's got the books.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
I'm working on the Subok hat.
I know, dude. That's going to be my favorite hat. I'm going to wear that thing till it dies. I'm ready for it, man. You sent me that that little screenshot of the logo, and I was like, "Ooh, that looks good as fuck."
That was surprisingly a little tough to kind of get to look right.
But it looks really cool, man. I love how it's like sharp and geometric. You know, it looks good. So, but yeah, I feel like getting baby venomous to eat is very much species specific. It's very much about the training that you're taught as a venomous keeper, and it's about learning from non-venomous stuff like chondros and Alterna and stuff that doesn't normally eat pinkies or fuzzies,
Right.
you know, some of the garter snake species, you know, trying to think outside the box of like what might these things eat in the wild, because they're not getting white lab mice. They're just not.
Right. Nope.
So, but I don't know if that answered your initial question, but
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So how many female chondros did you pair this year?
6. I got 4 of them to go.
Nice.
Of course, the one that I'm trying to get Dark Horse to give me another clutch, and it's always the one that you want the most is the one that's gonna, say nope. So two seasons in a row now, I haven't been able to get her to go. There's been a lot of active breeding and follicle swelling and all that, but then she just won't go the distance. I'm tempted to go get an X-ray on her just to make sure she doesn't have like a retained ova or something that is keeping her from going the distance from the very first clutch that she gave me, just to kind of rule it out. So it's weird because everybody else goes like clockwork, and I'm doing the same thing on all of them, and she just doesn't want to do it. So,
have you palpated her or no?
Yeah, I have. I can't feel anything.
Okay,
but
it's
hard to say.
Are we sure it's still a girl?
Yeah, I do have an offspring from her.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's 2023. You know.
Yeah, I know. Things are fluid.
Yes, very.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping I can get that nut cracked at some point. It'd be nice to get some babies from her again.
Yeah, man. So, of the babies you got this year from the 4 clutches, what's your red and yellow ratio?
Pretty good. One of the clutches was the male was a dominant red Womena, so he was paired up with an Aru, a yellow baby Aru, and the whole clutch came out really super dark, almost black.
Nice.
From that one, so that was a good clutch.
Womena blood, man.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see what those end up looking like, because both the parents are kind of plain Jane, but when you take a red dominant Womena and cross it with another locality, really wacky shit happens a lot of times. So
Womena's
we'll see what
Womena
happens.
and Biak, man, that's that weird secret sauce that just does really goofy shit.
Yep.
Now, on those black ones, did you get a reduced patterning because of the Aru?
On some of them, I mean, there's fairly bold patterning though.
Okay.
On a good portion of them, but they're pretty unique looking, coming out, and I suspect that when they do grow up and go through the color change, there should be some interesting looking stuff out of there, just because they're so dark, and that cross in particular can do some pretty wild stuff. So it's a nice experiment. I'm curious to see what happens to them.
Very
cool. Then the other clutches, the Manokwari stuff, I do get a few yellow babies that pop out in each clutch. I think I got on each of them like two yellow babies out of a dozen is usually what I end up getting. So I have a few, but yellow babies don't get enough love.
They really don't.
They don't.
it's just what you're looking for. I think, the whole hobby is kind of funny, and people tend to just follow everybody else, it seems, and everybody has it in their mind that blue line lineage is really the only stuff that you want to get, and those are fantastic animals. They're beautiful, but I think people are really missing out on what they could do with yellow babies,
Sure.
particularly with things like Maniquari and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because you could selectively breed for like really bold dorsal patterning. So you've got like this really nice light green with an electric blue. The blue is different on the yellows compared to the reds. Usually, it's usually a bit more vibrant, and of course,
More, yeah, like electric.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
usually not always, but usually stays within the dorsal patterning. But if you were smart and handpicked some really nice yellow babies with bold patterning, and then kept holding back the ones with the best patterning, you could create some amazing stuff that nobody's doing, only because they're focusing on they're all
Yeah.
focusing on red babies, and someone needs to start doing that, because you do really well, I think. You know.
Well, it's because of damn Irby and Dave D and stuff, man. They're popping out all these just ridiculous, like world
Yeah.
class chondros, and everyone's like, "What'd that look like as a baby?" And then you see that, and
Yeah.
everyone's going for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't say I
Dude,
blame them, but I definitely agree that the like dark red is the way that's what everyone should be looking for. Don't look for
Yep.
anything else. But
If you're going for blue, if you're
sure,
going
yeah,
for a blue
yeah.
wash or whatever, but Mark Heger popped out a yellow baby with a lot of melanism and stuff,
Yeah.
and there's stuff you can do, and everybody should have that as a little side project, I think, as they're focusing on the other stuff too. I know I am.
Yeah.
You know.
What's the plan as far as like holdbacks and stuff? Because so if I produce green trees again, I definitely
when you produce green trees
I'm
again.
gonna go ahead and say if just in case. Okay.
It's gonna
I
happen.
definitely plan to hold on to stuff longer than I did the first round. The first round, that was a lot of that was to diversify what I had, and there's especially if it's going to be, if I end up pairing Starscream to some other stuff, like that's definitely going to be some babies I want to hold on to and sort of keep around. But I mean, what's your plan there as far as holding on to stuff for any extended period of time and stuff that you plan on actually holding on to long term?
Yeah, the Wamena clutch, I'm actually going to release most of that um, at a good price too. Only because I've got more than I can handle at the moment. I can't keep them all back, and I also think it would just be kind of fun to get some of these out there and roll the dice and see if some people end up with some stuff that looks pretty amazing. And then I'm just going to cherry pick one or two out of there and hold that back. The Maniquari stuff, I've got that pretty dialed in. I think I know for the most part what they'll end up looking like based on
Mm-hmm.
the three clutches that I've gotten from that pairing so far.
Is that Mako and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. They've been very consistent with the phenotype
Yeah.
that they produce. And so I'm letting all of those go this round. And then this is the first year I actually have one of my offspring that I paired up with pure Maniquari, that I got a decent clutch out of those, and I'll probably be holding like one or two from that, and then releasing.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I've seen people who got animals from that first Mako Dr. Jones clutch.
Yep.
And like I can look at them and tell.
Yeah.
I'm like I'll message them and be like, "You got that from Brahms, didn't you?" And they're like, "Yep." And I'm like,
Yep.
"From Mako," and they're like, "Yep." It's like it's funny because I mean the female that I have, which is Starscream, the one I've been talking about, there a lot of the other animals that came from that clutch and the clutches after that, they all do have sort of that look to them that's just to me it's very identifiable. It's very obvious that it was from those two animals.
Yeah, I would agree. Every time occasionally I'll see some that look very similar to that. Obviously they aren't mine, but then when you look at the lineage on them, it makes sense. There's similar locality phenotype that went into producing those animals. So, they're pretty consistent.
Yeah.
You know,
Dave D and Brian Fisher are supposed to be going to Daytona this year, actually. So
nice.
pretty excited to talk to them. Dave actually messaged me. He's like, "Hey, me and Brian Fisher are going to be out there. You want to hang out?" And I said, absolutely. I've never met Dave. I really haven't even talked to him that much.
Yeah.
I don't talk to Brian as much as I used to, but I still check in with him periodically because he got 1 or 2 Beox from me, I think, too.
Yeah. Yeah, he just produced some not too long ago too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both good guys. I just did work with them within the last month or so, making stuff for them.
Yeah, Dave produces some awesome stuff, man.
Top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Phil, when are you getting chondros?
I was thinking about it this year, but I'll put a big but in there. Before I did my whole move and everything, I was like, man, I think I would just want to get a baby and just raise it up and just have a pet. And like, because the only pythons I have right now that are like playable, like can take out and like be sociable with, are fuscus. And as much as I love my water pythons, they're just a big brown snake. I mean, yeah, there's rainbow iridescence in the sun, but like it's just a big brown snake. So I kind of wanted to get a con because like my carpets are not, I don't trust them. Let's just be real. Like I have no problem. Like I'll throw them over my shoulder. That's no problem. But like to hand them off to someone,
See, that's all the green trees I have minus the original male Beox that I have that produced that first clutch. Once they're out, they're fine.
Oh,
like
yeah.
every time I open these tubs, and I'm sure David's the same, for you. Like as soon as you open that lid, you usually have a mouth coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have animals that will like take multiple swings at me thinking they're getting fed. But as soon as they're out and they're off the perch, they're completely fine. Like I could hand them off to my 10-year-old and I wouldn't have any issues with them, taking a swing at it or anything. That male Beox, on the other hand, he fits the stereotype, which I do think that stereotype is valid, at least for imported animals.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Because my experience has been if you get them when they're young and they're like small, they are going to be a little more feisty, I think, than some of the more designer, captive bred stuff. But I do think they end up growing out of that better than imported adults. I feel like imported adults, Beox in particular, they're going to be the way they're going to be. Like there's no changing. Like they're set in their ways, I think. I don't know.
Natush confirmed that too. He said
he?
When he was doing his field studies, that Beox definitely stood out in terms of how defensive they would be compared to the other localities, species.
I mean, each one of them definitely has their, as far as everything I have currently, each of them definitely has their quirks and sort of their personalities that I sort of know what to expect, but most of them I can pull out and not have any problems. They're not gonna do anything shisty. So,
Well, I think that I was shopping for babies and I was looking at babies and I was like, man, I could really set up a nice Viv, do a BlackBox and get it all decored out, make it aesthetically pleasing. And then I realized that everything I have is arid desert and montane and just, I'm asking for trouble, man. I just am.
Yeah.
And with the exception of, like I said, with the exception of the fuscus and some carpets and I don't know, South Florida corn snakes, everything else is arid and desert. And
arid.
I just don't think it's going to work right,
Yeah.
So
that's the limitation for the way that I'm doing my room. My rooms are all ambient. I don't have individual heating on the cages, and so the rooms are dialed in for chondros.
Yeah.
And but I would love to get my hands on some rhino rat snakes and that kind of stuff. But I'm like, the room's not really set up for them. It's so warm.
Dude, they do fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like my room stays in like the middle of the day, like heat of the day right now. Yeah. My room probably gets into like the mid 80s at the highest.
Okay. All right.
And, the rhinos, none of them have heat. I'm running ambient on mine as well now. Like I don't have any of the heat elements turned on any of my stuff except that Aki cage. But I also have that window in the room that gets afternoon sun, and I need to get blinds for that actually because it's kind of starting to freak me out a little bit because it gets kind of toasty. But the rhinos, I mean, as long as you're not keeping them, above 86, 87, they'll be fine. Like the rhinos they're super easy to keep. They're not going to care. You'll see them hanging out in their water burrows a lot, and that's normal. But I have yet to have any issues with mine and them getting warm. I think if you're kind of like cresteds in that regard, like if you keep them really warm for an extended period of time, like you're going to have problems. But they're really not picky. They really don't seem to care.
Oh, that's good to know. I might try them then at some point.
You definitely should, man. You will not regret it. That's I told the corn snake group chat because I had my female out this morning taking some pictures. I was like, I would sell if I had to. I would sell everything except these rhinos. Like if someone was like, you can only keep rhinos for now until eternity, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. You have the Prasina too, don't you?
Yeah. I got a pair of those from Matt Most.
How do they compare?
I call them the rhino's evil twin.
Yeah, I've heard that they can be nippy. Yeah.
They are identical to rhinos in behavior in terms of like they're always out, they're always hanging out, they're always watching you, they're curious. But as soon as you go in there to actually do something with them, they're ready to go. Like they're on. Right? Yeah, they're either shooting out the cage onto the floor or they're taking swings at you or both.
Interesting.
It's like a rhino with Dramarcon attitude, right?
It's like a rhino on PCPs kind of. They're awesome and they're pretty and I really do like them. And he's like, you're gonna like these more than rhinos. I was like, I don't know, man, that's a pretty high bar. And I do like them a lot. I don't want to get rid of them. I'm excited to breed them next year, but they are like, again, I would have no issues with my 10-year-old walking in and opening a rhino cage and taking one out. The percentum would be a very different story.
Yeah.
You know what Dave needs? He needs Nova Guineas. I feel like Nova Guineas would work really well with all his chondro room.
I had pop wins for a while.
Okay. Yeah, but it's not the same, man.
That monster female that Jake has.
That's right.
I remember getting
that. Oh, really?
I
didn't know that
box
giant
came in.
Sherman tank of a snake.
Dude, I was working the cigar shop when that got shipped because I used to have Jake stuff get sent to me at the shop because I was there, and I remember like, yeah, I got a carpet coming, that's cool. And then the box showed up and I'm like, what the fuck?
She's a brick house.
They're freaking retic in this thing.
Yeah. And
then I opened the box and then I looked in the bag. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I texted Jake like right away. I was like, dude, this thing is fucking massive. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, this is the biggest damn pop one I've ever seen in my life and probably will ever see.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he came and saw it. He's like, oh my God. Like,
what's funny is I fed that thing very sparingly and I had it since it was a little baby. And, it was not neglected, but, definitely was not messed with a lot, fed it infrequently. But when it was an adult, I fed her big meals. I would give her a nice, good size rat whenever I did feed her. And I think that's what did it. She just got massive.
He's been getting, like, I have adult rats that I have no use for. I can't feed them anything because I don't have anything that big, but he takes some and I know that that's what they're going towards because that's the only thing he has that I think that can even eat something that big. And
dude, when I went over
the Monstars version of the freaking Popwin carpet.
When I went over Jake's house and he's like, oh man, you gotta see the pop ones. And then he's like, look at this one, look at that one, look at this baby. I'm like, oh, these are great. He goes, and look, this is my breeder male. I was like, oh man, that male looks capital. Mine's like 4 foot, looks great. He's like, oh, and this is mom. And I was like, what is that a bat eater? What is that thing? Yeah. But again, you need to get Novas because that doesn't happen. Yeah. So, and then every time I think about getting a chondro, I just think of the Novas and I'm like, nah, just keep them.
Not the same.
No.
Oh man, I don't know.
You really can't even compare chondros and carpets. I mean, you can in like the feeding behavior and stuff in that regard of knowing what to expect when you're going to go in and take them out. But other than that,
Well, what I do think is funny is that me and Billy Jenkins got clutch mates, right? And of all the Novas that Billy's ever produced, or Billy Hunt's ever produced, me and Billy Jenkins are the ones that got the pissed off ones, which I think is hilarious.
The Billy Hunt specials.
Well, yeah, because my girl she's sweet as pie, but the boy, he'll take your face off, man. He thinks he's a jag. So,
are you still keeping stuff outside of chondros?
No, I pared down. Well, that's not entirely true. I have a horned frog that is my room trash can. So if I've got an animal that doesn't want to eat pinkies, it goes to him. And I've got a couple aquariums in the room too with some fish. But snake wise, yeah, it's all chondros.
Yeah, because there was a point. I mean, Phil's a big Glades rat fan. You know, there was a point where you had some just insane.
You know what,
Everglades
dude?
rat.
When you
I still have
me,
one. Now you mentioned it, I forgot. I still have one female.
When you sent me the pictures of the ones that you sold, a piece of my soul like left my body and just feathered away into the ether. Oh my God.
Everybody has that story where you let something go and you regret it, you know?
What do you mean one story? Lots of stories.
Yeah. That for me though is one in particular where I'm like, I really wish I didn't let those go. But
who did those come from originally?
It was a while ago. I'd have to look. I think I got them from somebody who is on king snake, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And then one of them was hypo, right?
Yeah, they were all hypos.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And but that male was just absolutely incredible.
I think I still have pictures on my phone.
Yeah,
pretty sure I did, bro.
He printed it and framed it. It's hanging on his wall.
Let's not get carried away there, but
yeah, he was spectacular. Yeah. Glowed in the dark.
Yeah.
Radioactive, bro.
Yeah, really was.
Within the last few years, you've sort of changed up your setup that you got going on in the back there. You switched to like that sort of bizarre Cambro. Still don't fully understand how you have those mounted, like how they're sitting, but
it's super simple. You know how at Home Depot you can get those tracks that you mount to the wall?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you got the brackets that slide into them so you can put shelving on them. I do all that, but I just don't bother with the shelving because I don't need it. And and then every individual cage sits on the brackets that the shelf would sit on, and I can adjust the height and all that. So, behind me, I've got, each wall is set up with those, and I can put the big Cambros, I can put the small Cambros, I can, do all that. And most of the animals that I'm keeping, the localities are on the smaller side, and the large Cambros work well.
Yeah.
For the Maniquari type stuff, and it's easy to keep clean, and they all bred in them this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's no issue whatsoever. So yeah,
my eyes.
Yeah, I want him back. I wish I knew where he went.
I told you I still had the pictures, bro.
Yeah, I sold him to Bob Clark.
Did you really?
Yep. And then I reached back out to him at one point, and he couldn't remember. He sold it and didn't know where it went. I was trying to track him down to see who had him, see if I can get more offspring from him again. But
yeah, man. And then I think you said you still have one left, right?
Yeah, I've got a female that I have.
I think I have a picture of that snake in the deli cup from when you got it.
Yeah, probably.
I'm pretty sure you sent it to me. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I had to hang on to him, man.
What a nerd.
I love Everglades rats, though. I don't know what it is about them in particular. I like rat snakes in general, but something about the Everglades rats, I'm drawn to them. They're just amazing.
They're just so unique, and the personality is so different from a normal yellow.
Yep.
And it's just, oh man, it's crazy. And what I think is worse is just to coincide with your regret of selling them. When I was younger, man, 18, 19, 20 years old, we would find maybe one or two a month, and they were just so pretty. And I was like, man, these are so great. I'm so happy we have them in Florida. And I would always just let them go. I was like, oh, here you go, snake, go make more. And I haven't seen them in at least 10, 15 years in the wild.
That's sad.
And I think it has to do with land development and them not having enough of their own kind to breed, so they're just intermingling with yellows, and it just gets washed out.
Yep.
Yep.
That's sad.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I would love to have a giant display
Oh, sure.
enclosure with Everglades in them. I'd deck it right out. It would be
Well, that's
so
like
nice.
Smitty told me about. I can't remember where you were, Smitty, but there was I guess like a corn snake exhibit that had like old tractor, old tractor wheels.
Yeah,
and,
the
like,
That's what I would like to do.
Sanitarium.
Yeah.
Dude, like that would be a hell of a thing, like in the living room, like under the
Yeah.
TV or something. That'd be awesome.
Like part of a pump house or something.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, some old boards with like, sugar cane
Right.
Infested
printed
nails.
logo. Yeah,
That'd be so killer.
it really
When I win the
would.
lottery this week, I'm going to do that for sure.
Nice.
I'd love
nice.
to just set up a whole private collection like that. It'd be great.
Well, I've
Next
been
time I'm at the Serpentarium, I need to take a picture of that and send it to you because it's like they nailed it, man. It looks like just like the inside of like an old barn. It's got old rusty like not tools but like hooks and pulleys and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just looks like an old like abandoned barn. kind of thing, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. The corns love it.
So I've been on like a quest these past couple of years of like getting really, really nice shots for backgrounds in my vivariums. And I got this one for pygmy rattlesnake, and I haven't made it yet, but I might wind up I got Everglades rats from Mike Kosicki. I might wind up using this for them. So this is in the cane fields in Glades County. This is what they call a mini pump house, where it's not an actual house. It's kind of like a shed with a diesel tank next to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like put some rusty farm equipment in there, and it'd be awesome.
That'd be killer.
Dude, it's the little things, man, right?
It is. That's what makes the hobby fun.
And by the way, if you want, let me know. I will. I'll get you some dead cane, and I'll mail you up some dead cane to put in the enclosure.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Just spread it around. Yeah, dude. Make it look right.
Yeah, that'd be killer for sure.
Are you doing live plants in any of your chondro setups?
No.
No?
I have silk plants that I use.
Mine will go. So I have pothos in the water bowls with I think like half of my green trees, and they'll be in there hanging out fine for weeks. And then for whatever reason, there'll be a week period where they just keep kicking it out on their nightly cruises. And I tried the water bowl holder, like what Luke was doing with the tall deli cup with the pothos growing in that, and that worked fine. But I had one male Biak with that in there, and it got to the point where he would pop that thing out like every night, and dirt would just go everywhere.
Yeah.
And after like the third time of cleaning that up and putting it back, I was like, okay, you don't get this anymore. It's revoked.
You lost your privileges.
Yep. But it went like he didn't touch it forever, and then all of a sudden he finally realized, oh, I can kick this out and get dirt everywhere and like clockwork.
Yep.
You ever try and use a big water bowl? Like, how do I phrase this? So back in the day, when we had baby chondros and we had baby eyelash vipers and we had baby squams, we would get these really tall, almost like a wonton soup containers, the really tall deli, and put a piece of wire that had like the fake branch wire, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Put that across the top, air holes in the lid, and then put like maybe 2 or 3 inches of water in it. And then the snake just poops in the water, you dump the water out, whatever, and it kept the humidity up and all that. I always want to know if somebody would put a large, I don't want to say it, like a dog food bowl or something that's just water with the plant coming out of it, and then the chondro sits on the rim.
I've never had that happen, not intentionally. I've had chondros do that because I have that going on in some of mine. And there's been a couple times where I've had a chondro perch up on the bowl, but it was because I came in at night and turned on the light, and the light was on for a few minutes, and they were like, oh, okay, and they curled up on the edge of the water bowl.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was it. But as far as them purposefully doing it, I've never seen them do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they always want to go to the highest spot.
Okay. Wild, man.
Yeah, it's funny. They would perch on nothing if they could. I remember having some wires for some of the lights and the Python portal setups, and some of those Biaks would curl up on the wires.
Yeah.
It was like so thin. It's like literally if they could perch on nothing, they would. Like it's just it's goofy. If you give them something super thin, they will do everything in their power.
They prefer it
to perch on it. Yeah.
Yeah, they want it.
Yeah, 4-foot snake on a pencil thick vine.
Yeah, it's really dramatic when you look at emeralds. They're almost worse.
Yeah.
You know, they want the same thing, but they're 3 times larger. You know,
which never made sense to me. Like all the people that, I mean, obviously this is old school, and like now we have, you know, the reptileperch.com to facilitate our needs. But like back in the day, you used to get PVC pipe. I guess it was like 1.5 or 2-inch PVC pipe, whatever it is, with the 2 brackets. You'd screw it into the sides of the vision and then cut the top off, so it kind of made like a C shape or U shape, and then just stick the PVC pipe in it. And that's what everyone kept like basins on, like newspaper, a water bowl, and a white PVC pipe from Home Depot.
Yep.
And it never made sense to me why they use this big, giant, thick pipe when they clearly don't. They would clearly prefer a thinner, more naturalistic branch.
Yeah,
I think it's because emeralds are so damn heavy bodied that if you use anything thinner, you know, barring, I mean, if we're talking like 3-inch PVC going down to 2 maybe, but anything thinner than 2, it's going to start to bow, and those things are just going to like collapse it.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
One thing I noticed too, I think the hobby in general, because people like looking at their snakes and you know, green trees and emeralds, but they want to look at them a specific way. They want them coiled up in that classic arboreal snake position, and so everybody just went, you know, straight pipes, and that's what everybody's been using for decades. But you know, if you start adding in other stuff for them to try and perch on, you know, cross bracing or, you know, thinner diameter stuff, particularly if you've got intersections, they like to rest on those intersections. They don't always like to just be coiled up like you usually see them. And I think people are missing out by not providing that, you know.
Mark Goyer was giving his green trees like elevated hides, like
I was going to do that too.
He was saying they were using them like way more than you would think.
Yep. They'd probably be in there most of the time if I were to guess.
Yeah.
You know.
Has anyone tried those finch bird nests like what they do for boiga?
Not that I know of.
Aware of.
You know what I'm talking about though? Like the wicker bird nest you buy from the pet store with the 2 wires. Yeah, because I mean I know tons of people that use that for boiga, but I don't know if obviously you'd have to have a big bird's nest for an adult chondro, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely, you couldn't do it with any of the larger like Arus or Beox or anything like that, because you'd have to have a massive nest, and even then, if you're keeping them in something that's a little more humid long term, I would wonder if that wicker would start to deteriorate.
Yeah, get funky,
just fall out. But smaller stuff, you know, I think it would probably use it. I don't know. Most of the stuff I have could probably fit in one pretty reasonably.
Yeah.
I would think. I don't know. I feel not necessarily bad, but I know I've talked about it a good bit recently. Just like a lot of my chondros, barring that older male Beox, they're fairly small. Like I don't know how big your smallest female is, David, but you know, I have that pair from Luke that are 2018s. And I think they're maybe around the 400 gram mark. But I also haven't been feeding the absolute snot out of them, you know, because I'm really weird about feeding chondros a lot. I think even Starscream right now, like she's heavier than I'd like her to be. But like I think we've texted about it back and forth a bit, but the whole, you know, breeding chondros, age over weight sort of debate, you know, where do you sit on that?
I don't stress out about their size whatsoever. Matter of fact, the smallest girl that I've bred was probably between 400 and 500 grams.
Wow.
And I got a dozen eggs out of her with 0 issues. I think if they're sexually mature and, you know, they're beyond that 4-year mark, I don't think size matters from what I've seen. They're completely capable. And have no issues whatsoever. They'll have a smaller clutch. That's usually what they do, you know?
And were those? I mean, were those eggs the same size as what
They
you
were.
got from
They
other
were.
animals?
Yep.
Wow.
No different.
I was just going to ask that. That's great.
Yep.
Lisa's saying that she wants to get a stag fern for hers. And I imagine that would probably be pretty cool. They probably like nest up in that, but I feel like that's definitely a type of plant that you'd have to really secure it, because I feel like they would just knock that thing over every night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely make use of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, Reed had one at his house that was like
The stag?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Thing had to be like, I'm not even kidding, like 3 inches in diameter or 3 feet in diameter. Like, just huge.
Yeah, it's like a lazy boy.
Didn't even know they got that big.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Katie has a few that she got from him when we were up there seeing him and Slate and stuff. And
nice.
I don't know. They're super slow growing. So I'm like, how long did it take for that thing to get that big? Like,
probably forever.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been, again, I tried to pair that smaller pair earlier this year with no luck. I mean, the male was definitely all about it. But after seeing, Gary posted a while back, one of his first videos, he had a really tiny RFAC, I think it was, that he paired. And I remember seeing that being like, there's no way you got eggs out of that thing. But he did, and I think I want to say they were all good and they all hatched. But
what did you get, 4 or 5?
I think it was a little more than that.
Yeah,
nice.
Probably 10 or 12, I would assume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Justin, I don't worry about that whatsoever. As long as they're old enough, they're capable.
That's good.
Well, I was originally going to pair the holdback that I have from my first clutch to Starscream, but it turns out that 3 of them that I thought were males are actually females. So my ratio essentially went from like being really male heavy to being really female heavy. And I have that adult Biak ones from Luke as a male, but the others are all females. So I've got like 2.4, 2.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2.4, and then that one baby from Luke that he produced last year. So they're all smaller, but I'm gonna give them a shot.
Yeah, it brings up something I see often. You'll see people online trying to move some of their animals because they're male heavy, and they want to thin it out. And I think people way underestimate the need of having a lot of males in your collection, particularly with chondros. From what I've experienced, if you get one that's a good breeder, if you got male chondros that are good breeders, they're worth their weight in gold. And because you'll get some that it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot get them interested in girls, and there's no telling what it is. So it's really good to have a bunch of them in the arsenal in case you run into 1 or 2 that want to be duds, and it happens a lot. And I think that's why a lot of people are not successful breeding chondros, because they only have 1 male, or they'll have a couple males, and they'll put them together and nothing happens year after year. And
I've said
a compatibility issue of some sort.
Yeah, for a few years, I've been of the opinion that I'd rather be male heavy than female heavy. And if I was going to if I was looking to get a group of green trees, say I got like 2 females, I would be much more inclined to be more specific and put more money into the male that I got over the females.
Yeah.
And that's simply for the fact that you can breed a male more than once in a season.
Yep.
It doesn't work the other way, obviously, but there is a ton of emphasis put on females, and there's always people. I'm getting messages semi-regularly if you have any female green trees, and I don't. But it was like, if I was gonna, you see people buying these designers and stuff, right, and putting all this money into these animals from Irby and Dave D and stuff like that, which is great and all, but if I was gonna get one of their animals, I'd be going for a male, man. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Females are great, but
100%.
I want a stellar male. That's
for a number of reasons. They're usually not going to croak as a result of the breeding process too. Females drop dead all the time because it's so taxing. Males, you can put them to multiple females and they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you guys ever swap sheds or swap feces for like combative reasons or no?
I tried it once. I put the shed of another male in with one of the males that I have, Dr. Jones, and it was incredible how aggressive he got with himself. I mean, he got so
Really?
worked up. He was actually biting his own flanks. He was biting the perches.
Wow.
He was like, you open the cage, he was coming out after you. I've never seen
ready to
anything like it.
go.
So I was like, well, I don't need to do that. That wasn't
Okay.
didn't need to do that.
All right. Yeah, because I just didn't
Yeah.
know, like with some of the cobras in the past, I've taken and pythons, because I've never bred pythons on purpose, but some of the python species too, where you take a competitor or a different male
Yep.
shed and put it with the female, then throw the intended breeder male in there, and he's like, oh,
Mhm.
there was another dude here, I gotta get on it.
Yeah.
So
That's why I was doing it. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying put the shed with the girl and then put,
No, I did.
oh okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did that, and it flipped a switch. Like hyper aggressive.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
That
literally,
drunk-
I took video of it. He literally was biting himself out of aggression.
Wow.
He was so worked up.
that drunk friend at the bar that just wants to swing on anybody that looks
Exactly.
at him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've thought about doing it, but that has been a concern of like, am I gonna send them into just sensory overload to where they're just gonna, freak the fuck out like that? And I don't know.
Other people have done it and didn't get the same response.
Yeah.
But you're rolling the dice. I think. The male
Well, if you-
chondros are very territorial.
If you've got a male too, that's an absolute stud when it comes to breeding and stuff too. I think you're probably more likely to get that reaction out of them if they're.
I think you're
Especially,
right.
I mean, you've bred him a couple years now too, so he's like, he knows what's going on. I'm
Yep.
sure it's not like a first time male that's trying to figure everything out. But
He's on the tee.
yeah. I'd be curious to see if I did that with that big male Biak I have. I feel like he would probably he would be that guy.
Yeah.
Wild, man. Wild.
Ryan Young told Lisa not to do it. The males will kill each other. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy how, especially you have like a super mellow animal, but you put another male into the mix and it's just
Game
it's
over.
on. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But it also goes to prove my point that chondros are dumb as hell.
True.
They're pretty, but they ain't smart by
They're the
any means.
supermodels.
God, yeah.
All looks, no brains.
Yep. I still have some of the older animals that'll like every time I feed them, it never fails. I offer them something and they grab it and they wrap it, and then it's like they fall asleep with it in their mouth.
Yep.
And I have to like go and tap the tub, and then you see them like wake up and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was eating," and then they go right back to it. But like they'll sit there hanging with the food in their mouth for like an hour,
Yeah.
and it's literally like narcolepsy or something. Like they just fall asleep while they're like
Stupid.
mid meal.
And you guys want me to
How-
keep these things?
I was like,
I
how
know
do
it.
you survive in the wild? Like, how are you guys still alive?
I don't think they would. That animal would croak.
'Cause
Crazy.
I had one of them too that bit itself and held on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus. Just a Mediterranean guy go snatch up a moth.
It's funny, man. I've been watching your eyes go looking around the screen at the geckos, and I've got the one cane toad from the last Snakes and Stogies. He's hopping around my sliding glass door, and I'm like, "What are you catching, bro? What are you getting?"
Well, it's funny because all the Mediterranean geckos I have in here are from that small group I tried to start like 2 years ago.
And they all got out.
and they all got out somehow or another, and so now I have a nice little group of them
You got a
here in the
colony?
garage that are taking off. Which it's like one day I'll probably need one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're behind the cigar signs that I have hanging on the wall. That's the funny part.
Nice.
There's one that lives
Yeah.
behind the Gurkha sign, and there's one that lives behind the Oliva sign, and I'm watching her just snatch up bugs.
That's great.
Fine, because there's plenty of them in here. But yeah, I'm anxious to breed them again, man.
It's coming.
I see like you and Luke popping out babies and stuff. And I'm like, damn. And then I got Justin Olson who lives down here by me now, and he just hatched out some stuff that's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And gives me the itch. I got the itch.
It'll happen.
Yeah, man. It'll happen for sure. For sure.
I feel more prepared this time too, not just because it's green trees and it's like I've got the first round of that sort of out of the way and I sort of know what to expect, but like hatching more stuff.
Yeah.
Overall, I feel a little less. If I can get this Jansen eye egg to hatch, I'll be like,
how many days are we in on that?
I think September 14th is roughly when it's supposed to hatch.
Okay. And we're looking good so far?
So far, haven't had any issues.
I'm knocking on wood right now.
I'll open the lid periodically just to get some air circulated in there, but I literally pretend it isn't there.
Good.
And now I got to figure out, because Rob messaged me and we were, Stone, we were talking about it a little bit, and he's like, dude, when that thing starts to pip, he's like, cover it. Don't look at it. Don't do anything. Like, if you're going to check on it very quickly, like briefly, like half a second if you can. Because if those things see you, he's like, it'll freak out and it'll try and eject from that egg while that umbilicus is still attached. And he's like, and that thing is toast. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I may move the Govee, or not the Govee, but the Wise camera into the closet somehow and position it to where I can check, like look at it and not have to be in there looking at it.
Why don't you get one of those? They sell those like, for lack of a better word, a Bluetooth endoscope. And you can plug it in the wall, slide it through a friggin' air hole.
That's true.
And it'll be fisheye. It'll be all weird and distorted, and it'll have its own little light, the little like infrared light, so you can see what the hell you're doing. But like they sell them they go down your kitchen drain,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like $20 on Amazon, $30 on Amazon, or better yet, spend a couple bucks more, spend 100, 200, whatever, and get a nice one, and literally just fish that thing in there, and you never even have to go in the room until you see them out of the egg.
Well, actually, I think what I would do with that is cover up the front, top, and sides, and then leave the back open, like the end of the tub,
and just stick a Wise cam in there.
Just not just that, but like take the endoscope or something and stick it so that it's looking at through the back of the tub in.
Yeah,
and maybe be able to watch it that way. I don't know yet. I mean, it very well could be that thing hatches and I just it comes out in a day. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. I've also seen it where similar things of not eggs incubating, but like for breeding animals where the enclosure is completely blacked out and you can't see in. So what people have done is they've gotten the very similar setup with like a remote camera that plugs into the lightning port of an iPhone, and they just have like an old iPhone 6 or whatever, and the iPhone is in the room, in a closet or in the room, and they come over and they turn the iPhone on and they look in with the camera, because there's no room to like put a Wise camera or a CCTV camera or whatever. And they literally use their iPhone or tablet as a viewing window to see what the hell's going on before they actually make entry into the enclosure or whatever. It's kind of a 21st century version of peeling away the newspaper to get an eyeball in there.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably more work than it's worth, but
I've got a month to figure it out. Hopefully. I mean, that's assuming that everything is fine in there and that it does go. But
and is that the only egg left in the incubator?
No, I've got the rhino clutch in there, and then I have the 4 unexpected semi-planned Baird's clutch hanging out in there too. Which that Baird's clutch that I've been waiting to hatch finally started yesterday or the day before, and I think one baby is out. There's 3 eggs that still haven't pipped yet that I might have to cut because I don't know what's going on with those. I'm starting to wonder if they're even good or if their babies died full term. But I'm looking at them right now. There's one out of the egg cruising.
What temperature are you incubating that Jansen eye at?
78.
Oh, so on the cooler side. Okay.
Yeah, and the rhinos too. This is the first clutch of rhinos that I've gotten, and Rob said 78. He's like they hatch at 60 days almost on the dot every time. So
You would know. Yeah.
And everything else I had in the incubator pretty much got dropped to that too anyways.
Mhm.
So, I wasn't going to adjust it so that corn snakes could hatch sooner. It was, and I'm doing a test now. So I had the incubator at 78, and then I got that second clutch from the first corn pairing, and I have those cooking on the tall Cambro rack in my room. And I'm going to see if there's any difference in terms of hatch time and stuff on those.
Mhm. I definitely dropped temperature for chondros now on incubating those eggs. Yeah. I'm down to 86 and got really good results.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to stick with that going forward.
It seems like there's been that whole sort of standard operating procedures for incubating chondro eggs across the board has changed for everyone over the past couple of years. Like I remember 87.5 was like the standard for a long time. And then it seems like everyone kept kind of dialing it back more and more. And even then now it makes me laugh a little bit because that's hot. Like incubating at 86 is warm.
Yep.
For a lot of stuff compared to what we normally incubate at. I mean, the boy guy cooked it. They get to 80, I think, during the day, 82 maybe, and then 78 at night.
Yep.
And those, it's just odd because now you go back to chondros and it's like, oh my God, I can't keep anything else in the incubator with these because it's too warm.
They're piping hot.
Yeah.
Yep. What did you say was hatching right now?
Bairds.
I feel like you said that so nonchalantly. I feel like Smitty 2 years ago would be like, there's Bairds. I'll be right back.
I mean, I've been waiting on these they started hatching on like day 78. So I was starting to wonder if they were even gonna hatch. Because I moved them into that bigger egg box, and I'm wondering if that's why those other 3 haven't hatched. Like I messed those up somehow, but we'll see.
Well, the group chat is saying that they want to see some snakes. Literally. Are you in the mood for some show and tell, Dave?
Yeah, I can. Let me grab something.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Dark horse.
Yeah, if she's not cruising, I'll grab her. Hold on.
Hell yeah.
That is such a nice animal.
Dude, look at those Cambros. Look at them.
I know. I have such a love-hate with the Cambro thing. Like if I actually... He got me thinking, if I could find lids for mine, I would 100% ditch that rack that I have them in right now and set them up into that wall that rack is up against.
And dude, I love my Cambros.
Streamlined so much.
Dude, I love my Cambros, man. And they're so versatile. Like, oh, you don't want to do arboreal anymore? You want to do terrestrial? Sure, take the branches out. Done.
I mean, okay, I should rephrase that. I don't have a love-hate relationship with Cambros. I just hate that rack.
Okay. And see, there's such a big divide, at least in my personal world with friends and stuff. There's such a big divide between a sterile Cambro and like naturalistic. Oh, here we go.
She is.
You want to make them full screen?
Yeah.
I'm back.
All right, we made you full screen so you can really show and tell.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at that thing, dude.
Just went from 6 to midnight.
Oh man. Incredible. Look at the yellow creeping up underneath. Dude, she looks like she's in shock. Like, what the hell did you just do, bro?
She was just trying to eat me. She was definitely on high alert when I went in there.
Nice. What an animal. Look at all the flecking. Oh man. Dude. Look at that. See,
I like that stuff over like the straight blue animals, honestly. Like I like it that there's a little more going on.
Yeah, see, that's blue with patterning. It's not just blank. You know?
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Her eyes are what really I love. She's got amazing eyes. They're just so golden yellow.
Dude, what an animal.
Yeah.
Look at the white lips with the yellow on the... Oh, man. Dude, incredible. Anybody who's listening to this on your commute, mark the time. It's right around
1 hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, 1:45. Yeah, 1:45. Jump on YouTube. Take a look at this friggin' specimen. It is incredible.
And how old is she?
I got her, I think, in 2013.
Okay.
as
Nice.
a baby. Let me. I'll put her back, and I'll grab the one and only offspring that I got from her, so you can see how it compares.
Yeah. You don't happen.
You pair her to Dr. Jones?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't happen to have like a desk lamp handy, do you?
I
mean, don't go
do.
crazy. I'm just thinking
I've got
like
a little. Yeah. Hold on one second. I'll grab something.
Yeah. Take your time, man.
Bill.
Take your time. No, dude, I'm just.
Have a man pull out some snakes and you're asking the world.
No, I want. Dude, the group chat is saying it's
kind of hard to see.
Incredible. It's fire. Wow. Billy Jenkins put a bunch of
I don't
water
even know.
splashing emojis.
Is that what that is? It looked like peanuts. I can't tell.
I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see.
All right.
Just a little pen light thing.
I feel like it should be like
Oh
the briefcase from Pulp Fiction where you just open it up.
It is. Look at that friggin' snake. That's so great, man. Oh, man. Blues within blues, within greens, within blues.
Wasn't she an import?
She was, yeah. I bought her as a red baby Maniquari. Didn't look anything spectacular when I got her, but then she, obviously turned into this. I got really lucky.
See, that's why one of the things I love about chondros, though, is it's that lottery sort of effect where it's like you can get something that may not look like anything special.
Right.
But then it turns into that, and no one knows. Like, that's the thing I like about it is you can't have someone that's been doing chondros for 20 years look at something and be like, yeah, that's going to be looking like this.
No, not
like the playing
really.
field is completely level in that regard, and that's one of the things I like about them a lot.
That's so great. Now, how much of this is time of the year and hormonal?
None.
Wow.
Yeah, every picture I've ever seen of that animal, that's what she looks like.
She just gets more blue with age. As
so
time has gone on, she's just become progressively more blue, and it's not hormonal. It's just been something over the year, she's been doing.
Wow. It's legitimately like it's legitimately breathtaking in the sense of you don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Let me I'll put her back and I'll grab her offspring so I can show you.
Yeah.
Let me I'll have it, so bear with me.
Take your time, man. That's so cool.
That is one thing about Cambros that I do not like, is having to figure out how to cut them without shattering them.
Well, dude, I did when I got my Cambro rack from Sean, I was terrified, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have to use a soldering iron. I'm gonna have to melt it. I hate melting it. And then Henry told me about step drill bits and doorknob bits, and dude, that is a game changer. All of my Cambro tubs, I use a step drill bit. They're all the exact same diameter hole. I took a ruler and a Sharpie and just measured out even space dots, and I marked them with a Sharpie, and dude, crisp, clean holes. And I feel like Cambros are so thick and durable that I've dropped mine on concrete and it bounced. It went boom, 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 Yeah. And I have not yet, knock on wood, cracked one, even drilling it with a step drill bit. And it just makes a perfect clean hole with that step drill bit.
Do those lids snap on? Do you know?
No, because I
always thought they just sat.
They do. They just sit right on top because it's meant for food storage.
Right.
So I don't know if how Dave has those. Obviously, he can tell us, he's in the room still, but all the ones I've seen just kind of sit on top for a restaurant, a restaurant kitchen.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. Dude, that looks like a freaking palm viper.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. The black in the saddles. Ugh. Awesome.
Is that a male or a female?
I think it's a male.
Look at that guy just hanging out.
I hope it's a male.
Such cool snakes.
So great.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's crazy to think that I even own any, because I remember as a kid looking through reptiles and seeing the old Signal Herp ads and being like, yeah, and then going on Signal Herp and looking at the prices and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll never own those.
I know, right?
And now
And
here we are.
that's right.
It's so amazing how of the 3 snakes he's brought out, they have very, very little white dots.
Yeah, it's funny. The Maniquari stuff actually does have a fair amount of white speckling. On some of the individuals that I have, let me see if I can grab one of the pure Maniquari so I can show you. I know Ryan Young, he's selectively breeding the Maniquari now to try and get some high white out of those, like he did with the Aru.
Oh, his Arus were nuts.
Yep.
And Dave, you can still hear us, right?
Yep.
So we were just talking when you were grabbing that one out. These camber racks that you have in the background,
Yeah.
those obviously have lids on them.
Yes.
How are those lids affixed? Do they just sit on, or are they clamped on, or what?
No, they actually have these little nubs, and they snap into little pockets.
Oh, okay.
So they're really strongly affixed to the tub. There's like no way a chondro or really any of the other kind of snakes too would be able to push it open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So you see this one, not a lot, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What is it about the Maniquari locality in particular that you've been so drawn to?
I like the blue
Mm-hmm.
and the dorsal patterning, and I think out of all the localities, you can get some really amazing looking stuff, from selective breeding. Most of the stuff that I have started with Maniquari lineage.
Yeah.
So, you can see that with just some selective breeding, you can start getting some really, really nice stuff that I think after a short period of time is probably going to rival some of the traditional blue line stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting close because, a lot of the animals that I'm raising up, particularly from that Mako and Dr. Jones pairing, they all go blue as they grow. They gain more years. And I just think, that locality in particular is really good at that. And they're just beautiful.
Yeah, man.
And they stay on the smaller side too, which is a plus.
Yeah. How big was that big female you just had? Like 4 foot?
If that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Having that big female Biak when she was still around, man, like that's a handful when they're ready to go, and they're, I mean, not as bad as the Tannenbar scrub, by a large margin, but
yep,
you get a big green tree that's pissed off and doesn't want to move, man. It's an event.
Yep.
That's wild.
You'll feel it too.
yeah. I've been fortunate. I haven't taken any hits from any of the bigger ones, but I got nailed by a 2-year-old, and that wasn't no fun.
No. I don't know if you can see. Hold on one sec here. This guy right behind me, that's the one that you produced.
Hey,
right,
yeah.
This guy.
Nice.
Let me see if I can get him out.
Yours was one of the more feisty ones, wasn't it? Or was it Luke's?
Yeah, this one's been kind of a dick, but I like that though.
That's funny because mine, she's completely handleable. Seems pretty split. I had some that got some that were like that, and then I have people that got some. They're just like the chillest Biaks ever.
Man, look at those perches. Man, beautiful, beautiful perches. I wonder where I can get them. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's a killer snake.
Yeah.
And it's great how big it is, and it's retained all that yellow.
Oh yeah, he's pretty.
Yeah. And this is 50% Biak?
100%.
100%. Oh, okay. Hence the yellow.
Well, I'll say they were Biak type parents. I don't know the background
this is
info
all-
on any of them, but
This is all BX.
I think it's fair to say,
Yeah, with all that yellow. Yeah. Still, man, great looking animal.
Mm-hmm.
Great looking head on him.
Yeah, he's ready to be put with something. I'll probably do that this winter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I had another Biak, to be honest with you. I'd like to do a locality pairing with him, but I don't.
It really is surprising how few people have locality specific focuses with green trees.
Yeah.
You know, the designer thing just kind of came in and took over, which is cool and all. You know, I don't mind that, but
And
don't see a lot of people doing Biak to Biak specific stuff or
No.
Aru to Aru or anything like that.
I wonder too, like how much the ship has sailed a little bit because of what is currently coming out of the quote unquote farms in Indonesia. Bushmaster, that farm isn't producing like it did back in the day, and so you don't see the variety anymore coming out. All you see are Aru and Biak almost exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that's how it's going to be going forward, or if it's going to open back up. You're actually going to get breeding at the farm for some of the other localities, or are we just going to see occasionally some wild caught stuff that gets imported as captive born? But it used to be in the day, tons of different localities you can get, and it's just not that way anymore.
Well, you would think we would see a lot more captive bred Biak stuff given how many come in, but
you would think
you don't.
Yeah,
like that's the weirdest thing. Like I remember when I'd produced that clutch, you kind of look around and there wasn't really, like, everyone was crossing stuff.
Yep.
But no one was really had any interest in doing Biak to Biak, and I mean,
I think they're missing out. I think what people assumed was that, well, I can go to my local reptile show or online and get an import baby Biak for $350. So why would I bother pairing them, to sell them? Because the babies are a pain in the ass to get started, so on and so forth. But what they don't realize is that, that baby's worth so much more than that. And people want true U.S. captive born Biaks. They want them in a bad way, and people should definitely jump on that.
Yeah. I know Billy Hunt's talked about it too. Like he wants to get just a group of imported baby Biaks and raise them up and breed them. And I'd love to do the same thing,
Yeah.
Yep.
This space was available, but
yeah, I feel like so many people too is they only get the Biak for 50% the price import and 50% to throw it into whatever designer project they've got, just to change it up and add some kaleidoscope.
Which, I mean, that's what my plan was to put Biak into frickin' everything.
Yep.
Just to see what happens. It's like a blender.
Definitely does good stuff, but people should definitely be focusing on locality pairings, without a doubt. I was actually that Wamena. I had a girl. I got two of them when I bought them as babies, and they ended up being a male and a female, but the female passed mysteriously one day. She just croaked, and so I was left with him. So the only alternative I have is to do some locality crossing with him, because those things, they're super hard to come by. Nobody's doing straight locality pairings.
I mean, especially Wamena, you really don't see a lot of people that even have more than one or two Wamena in their collections to begin with, let alone pairs,
Yep.
Yeah, I've also heard of some of the specific locality stuff that's field collected gets brought to farms in Sumatra and Singapore and mainland Malaysia, where they don't necessarily farm them or continue to raise them and breed them, but they're getting them up to par. They get them, dewormed, they get some weight on them, they get them good, and then those get sold to Russia and Eastern Europe to fuel their farming or their propagation in that regard. And we kind of just get stuck with Biaks. And I guess it just depends on how much money we spend,
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I've often wondered, like, how popular these things are around the rest of the world
Right.
versus the U.S. I mean, I know there are other countries where people are into it, but is it on the same level? And because you always hear that, a lot of the best stuff goes to Europe or it'll go to Indonesia or wherever.
Yeah.
And I often wonder if that's actually true or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it is to a certain extent.
Yeah.
The rumor has to come from somewhere. It's just
Yep.
how much of it is factually 100%.
Usually when there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It smells like a duck, right?
Right.
Yeah. I know there's some guys in South Africa that got nondescript just chondros, and they've been captive breeding them, and whatever they have is just coming out this perfect pseudo Cape York looking animal that's just green with white, and that's it. But they openly admit, they're like, look, we don't know what the localities are. We're mudding them out to make them look textbook, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Faux Yorks.
I love it.
I remember there was a point where I saw someone in Australia had like some like outcross stuff like Beoc. I'm like, how do you have that? You're not supposed to, apparently.
I often wondered that.
Apparently the other localities from PNG somehow found their way over into Australian collections. And I guess by the time people like the Australian government sort of figured it out, maybe Scott's still here, he can chime in, but by the time the Australian government kind of figured it out, they were like, nah, it's too late. Damage is done. They're already here, whatever. So
yeah, I often wonder too, because a lot of times in the legislation, they'll have things identified by species, and chondros were not broken out into multiple species for the longest time.
Yeah.
So in theory, if you're allowed to keep them and it's the same species, there's not much they can do.
Well, I have a friend in Queensland who keeps chondros, and it took him many years to find legitimate captive bred Cape York locality chondros, because he knew there was so many, mudded, hybrid, whatever you want to call it, undocumented, however you want to phrase it. And then he wound up finding a friend of a friend who had consistently been producing Cape York appearing snakes that were from legitimately field collected animals from Cape York that were used for some kind of scientific study and then sold in the private sector. Mm-hmm. And then that guy kept breeding them, and he paid a lot of money for them, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? The shadow knows.
We'll never know.
Well, you have anything else, Philip?
Nah, man, we covered a ton of good stuff tonight, man.
We did.
I love it.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming. It was awesome.
Yeah. I always love talking with you guys. It's good.
Yeah, man.
If people want to get them some hardware, where should they do that?
The reptileperch.com.
There you go.
Be happy to give it to them.
Excellent. And what I do love, I will say this for anyone who's curious, if you're on the fence about getting one of David's perches, don't think that it's one size fits all. It's not. It's catered to Cambro. It's catered to Sterilite.
Everything.
No. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying I'm sure there's people listening that are like, man, I don't know if he's going to have my tub size. Do I have to measure it? Dave has all the measurements, has all the tub sizes for the majority of the stuff that we normally come in contact with, tub and enclosure wise. And I don't want to speak for him, but I'm sure if you had some kind of funky dimensions, he would be more than willing to accommodate said dimensions.
Absolutely, yeah. And if there's a tub that you have that I don't have listed, I'm always open to somebody reaching out, and I just need to work with them to get me the dimensions, and I can make the perch for them.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned too that I get asked that question a lot. Will one of your perches fit in my tub? And I list the dimensions of all the perches that I have on my website. So, if you have a tub and it's not specifically listed, but you know what the dimensions are and you can compare it to the perches I've already made, there's a good chance there's one that already fits. Yeah. Even if it's not specifically, it doesn't say specifically it's for that tub in the description, the measurements are there. So if it fits, it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Jake and I have used them for all kinds of stuff. I use them for boiga. I use them for green trees, obviously. I use them for some rat snakes. Jake uses them for some rat snakes. It's not just arboreal stuff that will use them. I mean, they'll. We talk about space efficiency in tubs and stuff all the time, and these are just something else to add to those to maximize that. So
yeah, it seems most species actually like having something like that in there, from what I've seen from all the various customers that have purchased these from me over the years. That they're definitely not just being used for arboreal snakes. It's across the board. People use them for stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I literally have one right now with a Darwin carpet, a suboc, and 2 in Atheris chlorechus. So like the gamut of different types of animals, right?
Nice.
And it works with all of them.
That's great.
Yeah, rat snakes love them.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
dude. That baby suboc just like festoons himself across the whole thing, just chilling. I love it.
Yeah, the rhinos love them too.
I should mention too the new stuff that I've been making. They're all dishwasher safe now.
Oh wow!
So if you are running a facility where you use a dishwasher to sterilize water bowls and things, you can chuck these new perches in there. If you want to sterilize stuff between clutches or whatever.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, we appreciate it, man.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate you hopping on. It's fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Super awesome.
This episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. You need a rack, you need a cage. BlackBox is all the rage. Use the code THN at checkout, save yourself a little bit of money, and then hop on over to Fulvius Apparel, get yourself a shirt. Also use the code THN at checkout. THN listeners and viewers get the hookup on the code because I don't post it anywhere else. Use code THN. And then Puget Sound Pythons, give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram. They're good people. I mean, you don't really need any other reason to go follow them other than that they're awesome. And then go hunt them down on Morph Market and see what they've got for sale. You won't be disappointed. We will be back. I think we're going to be back Thursday. I have an event at work until like 6 Thursday night, so I don't know what's going on yet, but I plan to record. We'll see. Haven't talked to Jake yet, but either way, we'll do our pre-Daytona show here soon. I got to talk to you about that, Phil.
Yeah.
Coordinate with the other guys, sort of plan that out. Because Jake and I are coming up that Thursday, so we won't be able to do anything then unless we do something at the hotel, which I doubt is going to happen.
Yeah,
we're usually busy.
Never going to happen that way.
Yeah. So we'll have to figure something out. Maybe even do something earlier next week and just sort of take the rest of the week off, whatever. But we'll figure that out. Either way, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Real quick, I'm in the process of redoing Venom Exchange Radio YouTube with Venomous Etiquette videos. So if you are on YouTube, like you are watching this right now, everyone, go to Venom Exchange Radio on YouTube and like it and subscribe it and watch my shorts. For crying out loud, no one else is. And I'm gonna get all of the Venom Exchange Radio episodes onto YouTube eventually. There won't be any video, obviously, but you can at least listen to them there if you so desire, if you're a YouTube head. And yeah, there is a new episode of Venom Exchange Radio that just came out this week, so go check that out as well.
Yeah.
Thank
you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, guys. Later.